Can you imagine your life where money is your friend, working with you to achieve all your dreams and desires? If you struggle seeing money as your friend, then join Kathy Cook Noble, financial advisor and educator on understanding how your money can work for you. It is possible. Now, here is Financially Speaking with Kathy Cook Noble.
Good afternoon and welcome to Financially Speaking. I am Kathy Cook Noble and you are joining us on the Inspired Choices Network. And we are so excited tonight. We have a guest with us. I have been super excited and been waiting to get her on, and I was so thrilled when she agreed to come on the show with us tonight. I have to tell you a little bit about Betty Mae, and before I do, I just want to share with you a little bit about our show and welcome you all to it and invite you all to please contact us by phone or by joining us live in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. We're happy to have you there, and you can join us on conversation, ask questions, share your stories. If you want to call in and keep it anonymous, that's okay too. But if you have questions about money, please feel free to call in. We're in this together, and we're here to help each other. So I want to introduce to you Betty Mae Glen. She is one of these phenomenal people you're all going to love having to talk to as well, and you'll get a chance to talk to her tonight as well as I, which is super exciting. Betty Mae lives for transformation. She observed it hourly while growing up on her family ranch. The interplay of live animals, weather, seasons, and her crazy cowboy brothers instilled a deep sense of the even deeper dynamics of our lives. Sometimes it ain't pretty, but then a baby cow pops out. And as a health practitioner for 30 years, a participant in a fatal car crash as an elite athlete with a major in business administration, certifications in remedial massage and sacral therapies, extensive world travels, and postgraduate studies in numerous personal health and wholeness practice, Betty Mae has assembled an uncommon resume to accompany her passion for helping others transform. She is at once inspirational, surprising, and practical. Many walk away from her weekend retreats or one-on-ones having swiftly slain dragons that plagued them for decades in work, business, the arts, relationships, family dynamics, and physical health. Betty Mae helps people cut through, break free, exude confidence, and soar into their personal brilliance. This merely changes everything in their lives. That is so awesome and so true. I have had the great pleasure of talking to people who have experienced Betty Mae's workshops and have just absolutely raved about how their lives transformed and how quickly they can transform. So without delay, and to bring my friend Betty Mae, who I'm excited to have here today and help us all, please help me welcome Betty to the show. Hi, Betty.
Hi, Kathy. My goodness, what a warm welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm so excited because I don't think that people that don't know you yet know what they're in for. It's not just an impressive resume, and it's not just a great conversation they're going to hear. The transformation in their lives that I know people are looking for, and I know that they need. I know I find in my practice in finance that it's easy for me on my side to do the math and say, put your money here or don't put your money there. But the part that really holds people back is what happens between their ears. And that's where you come in. And it's super exciting to know that there's somebody out there that can help them. So tell us, how did you get started on this journey, and how do you start with clients, and what do you look for, and what can they expect, and all these great things?
Well, great questions, all of those, Kathy. And certainly I see, sort of the other side of the coin of what you see, but we see how difficult money can be for so many people. And what I've really seen is quite a gamut of people are on the end of it where it's like, I don't have any money. I've never had enough money. I don't even know anybody who has enough money. All the way to the other end, it's like, you know what, I actually have lots of money, I'm doing fine, but I'm always stressed about money. And so it's quite a gamut in what their bank accounts show, but there's many similarities in terms of how people feel about their money situation and their relationship with money, actually. And I really love learning about relationships and studying relationships. It's whether it's your relationship with your body or your relationship with money or your relationship with your relationship or any of those kind of things. Once we can actually feel really good in our internal world, then it matters less and less what our external world looks like. And so I really like working on the internal stuff. That's certainly where my gifts lie, and came to it is actually might be kind of interesting as well. I started out as a massage therapist, and when people would come in with headaches or lower back pain or whatever they were showing up with, I could pretty easily get them out of pain. But again and again, I would see them go back into, like, leave my office and do the same old things they've always done, expecting a different result. And we know what that can lead to. So it really made me wonder, okay, so if I can help them with their internal world, can I also help them shift what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, these habits that they were engaged in and addicted to, really, were what were giving them the headaches, were what were giving them the low back pain. So it kind of started out as a process of, well, what's the headache of your life? And when that became the curiosity and we sort of looked at that and how to manage that, then not only could the headaches leave when they left my office, but they could stay in that space of moving away from that dynamic. So that's where I got my start. Yep.
Did you find a lot of commonality between people in general, or was there, and is there, a specific that this is, or target, or group of people that seem to be the ones that are victim to the headaches that they repeat and the pain that they're feeling? Is there any particular group, or is it just all of us as humans have different headaches that we have to deal with in our life and help them all through it?
Great question. What I found was, as I was looking deeper and deeper into the psyche of things, I started to find out that almost everybody has some version of the same problem. I know it sounds kind of funny because we're all so different, and I do treat individually, but I also moved into working with groups because I saw how the common difficulties could really shift dynamically and quickly in a group when we could see it in somebody else, but we maybe couldn't see it in ourselves. In a group situation, everybody could see it in everybody else, and it was easier to see in yourself the ones that we were, maybe previously blind to. And so there are a lot of similarities, and I mean, stress is stress, right?
Absolutely. And you probably see, because you've had such an extensive time in different areas of healthcare, the effect that stress has on so many parts of the body, include not just their money, right?
Oh, so absolutely. That's so true. And what we're finding out more and more now, and there's just, a gazillion articles on it on the internet for people to go and check out, but really they're finding that, I kind of said this at a company that I was working with. It was like, happiness is the new productivity. So if your people aren't happy, they're not as productive as they could be, and they don't have as happy of a life that they could. And can you imagine if they were coming to work and they're really happy there, they're having a good time. It also, when you're really stressed, it also depresses that part of the brain that is involved with creativity and problem solving and a lot of the executive function. And so really, if we can teach people how to get out of stress, or at least decrease it. I know a lot of people just say, oh no, I thrive on stress. And so I think there's a balance point where some people do find it enlivening, but a lot of people find it just overwhelming and frustrated and get angry and so on and so forth. And I find when people are really overstressed and they're, working late every night and they're not seeing their families or doing the things that they love, that's when the big costly mistakes happen in businesses.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
We really have to start addressing how to deal with stress. How do we deal with overwhelm? How do we deal with frustration? And one of the biggest places that shows up is in our money worlds.
And what do you find works better, Betty Mae? Do you work with people more one-on-one, or do you work with them more in a group environment? Is there one that's better than the other, or both?
Honestly, I think they're both fantastic. They kind of hit a different spot. So if people are really, like, money can be quite intimate, right? Not everybody wants, we were told as kids, don't go to a dinner party, don't talk
That's
about
right.
politics or money or religion. And so if people are really uncomfortable talking about money or how they feel about money, I don't have to divulge their bank account numbers or anything like that in my workshops. But if they're just uncomfortable talking about their feelings, I think I do a pretty good job making it very safe for people. But still, maybe 1 or 2 sessions, individual sessions, might be really great for them, so they can get a sense of where we might go in a workshop. And then in the workshops, we can dive deeper. Well, we can dive deep in individual as well, but I think both are really great and different opportunities.
I have to confess, I was listening to some of your blogs on your website. And for those of you listening out there, you want to go to askbettymay.com. And if you go to her blog section, you'll see all her some are audio, some are video. And I have to ask you about the happy money. I don't know, that's not what it's called, but it goes with what you're saying about it doesn't matter what's in your bank account, and that's not what the important part is. I loved how you talked about how you spend money, and I don't want to forget to ask you because I think it's really cool. So in your blog, you talk about the right way to part with your money. And I think that's really cool.
I love how you asked that question.
If you could just let people know about what happy money or the way that you actually describe it the right way.
Yeah, sure, for sure. So if anybody wants to go to the blog and check it out, it's called Money Love.
Money Love, yeah.
I think you're talking about. Yeah,
that's the one.
And so right now, for any listeners, if you think about money, in fact, let's go a little bit different. Let's say, think about your Visa bill. And just notice your internal experience. Are you like light and joyful and happy about it? Or are you like cringing, going like, oh, where am I going to get the money for that? Like, oh, it's kind of like, oh, just this like real stressy, kind of difficult, clenching, tightening experience. And in the video, I talk about how whatever it is, so as you go to part with that money, whether it's like $5 at a coffee shop for a coffee, or you see something that you really love and you actually have the money to pay for it, but when the time comes to put your credit card or your money down on the counter, there's like a cringe or a clench or a tightening or like, oh, I'm parting with my money. Oh. We know that money is one thing that's all over the world. And as we pass our money to somebody else, we're imbuing our money with that clenching, that squeezing, that tightening, that tensioning. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could actually imbue our money with love? That's what's in the video, but whatever it is for you that you want to spread around the world, if you want to spread around happiness around the world, if you want to spread peace around the world, what if every time you parted with your money, whoever you were passing it to would not only receive your money, but would receive a little peace, a little love, a little consciousness, a little shift in their energy. Wow. So I think, is that the one you were talking about?
That's the one, and I love it. I love it because I picture more people when they release their money, they're happy, almost throwing it at the person because they're so anxious to give it to them. And what a great energy to pass on to that person who can pass it on to somebody else. And wouldn't that just transform the world? Isn't that? I totally picture it. Yeah. When I watched it the first time, I thought, wow, you know what? Just two little things, because it's two corners of your mouth. Right, when you said about putting that up, I thought, absolutely. If you can do it with a smile and pass that along, it just changes your whole physical feeling and your whole mental feeling, and I just love it. I think it's I don't know if that's the place that you start, like for you when you start with somebody, or if that's one of the places, but I think it's, if nothing else, that's where everybody, couldn't they?
Yeah, that's a nice little takeaway, and I love how you phrase that, because not only are you offering that to the person who's receiving the money, but you're also making yourself feel better, right? Like those corners of your mouth go up toward your ears. You're already like happier yourself. So it's a total win-win. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's great. And I think when people start to do that, they'll just feel a little bit better, have a little bit lighter step. And it's so true when you say about the way money flows. And we're going to talk about more about money flow and how you get that to happen and where they can get that to happen and all that great stuff when we come back after our break, because we're just coming up to our first break in the show tonight. And we are talking with Betty Mae Glen, and we are really, really fortunate to have her tonight because she is going to help you incite your brilliance and understand about the flow of money and the money mindset. And we're going to talk more with her when we get back from our break. This is our break tonight, and we are going to be here with Betty Mae for the whole show. So anyone that's in Canada or the United States, we're happy to have you call in live or join us in the chat room live and ask questions. Betty Mae will take your questions tonight, either by phone or by chat room. It's no problem, either one. And we're just going to take our first break. You're listening to Financially Speaking with Kathy Cook Noble on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we are going to continue to discuss with Betty Mae Glen about inciting your brilliance and your money mindset. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. Canada 613-800-8736 or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Kathy Cook Noble on the Inspired Choices Network, and today our show topic is about money mindset with Betty Mae Glen. And before we went to break, we were starting to talk about your mindset and how you view money, whether you view it as a stressor or whether you view it as something that you're happy to have flow to you and from you, because it is a door that swings both ways. You must give it up as well as receive it. And we're here today with Betty Mae, and I would love to get into talking to you, Betty Mae, about some of your workshops and your retreats. I definitely don't want to miss us doing that, because I know there's a lot of really great stuff that you do, and I want to make sure we share that with everybody. And we want to share your website as well, because askbettymae.com is your website, and people can find more information there too, can't they?
Absolutely. And gosh, thanks so much for letting me put this out there. So again, the website is askbettymae.com, and I'm usually pretty good at updating it as to what's happening. I do have a workshop coming up this weekend, actually, on Saturday and Sunday. It's a money workshop, overcoming money obstacles. And it's going to be, I'm not full yet, so there are a few spots left if some of the listeners out there are interested in joining us. They can reach me right through my website. That's an easy way. And on Facebook, I'm a little less on Instagram. I'm still kind of learning that one, but I'm definitely findable if you pop my name into Google. And I have a whole series coming up, sort of spring, summer, fall. Again, there's more information on that on the website, but we're going to be looking at things like impossible to possible. So whatever you are experience as just something impossible to change in your life, we take you from that position to possible. So I'll give you a couple examples. Some people that come to that one, they'll say, Betty, I've tried everything and I just can't blah, 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 whatever it is, get along with my mother-in-law or change my money situation or something else. And so maybe lose weight, that's a big one. And from the beginning of the workshop to the end of the workshop, people make pretty dramatic shifts in that. The other kind of person that comes to that one is actually, it's a man that I worked with, and he was having a struggle with his relationship with his finances. And he actually has money. He doesn't have tons and tons and tons, but he certainly has enough. And he has a decent, income. But he always feels like he doesn't have enough. He always feels kind of, I got to scrimp and save and hold and all that kind of stuff. And I asked him the question this one time, and I just said, so what have you tried in terms of getting that to be more, like getting a better relationship with money to be possible for you? And he thought about it for a minute. He said, you know what? I think so deep in the sort of recesses of my subconscious, I just believed that I could never change that, so I've never actually tried. And I thought, wasn't that an interesting way of putting it? That he just knew he could never change it, so he never actually tried. And I wonder how many things we do that in our own lives with, that we've just kind of come to some conclusion that we can't change it without actually changing it and figuring out how to change it and getting some help with that. So that's one of them. There's another one called Ask, and that is how to place an order with the universe. And I always like to do a spoiler alert on that one. We're not sitting around doing affirmations and pretending to be positive. It's a totally different approach. There's another money workshop. I've also got Ideal Scene. So that one's really interesting. Often when I ask people, what do you want? They don't actually know. They might know, I want a new car, or I want a house, or something like that. But we go quite a bit deeper than that. And really, at the core of it, a lot of people really don't know what they want. It's kind of an interesting dynamic. What I've seen with people on that one is they don't know what they want, often because as a young person or throughout their lives, they've been told no so many times. Can I have that candy? Can I have that toy? Can I have that bicycle? Can I have that horse? Can I have that dog? No. And people begin to stop asking. And when they stop asking, they stop being in touch with what they really desire. And when they stop asking, they don't even sort of let the desire bubble up to the surface because they're already defeated. So that's a really fascinating one. And then there's another one called Perspective Shifts, Presence, and Possibilities. And that one, I usually do that one after a few other ones to give people a really good foundation, and then we move into that one. So those are coming up through the spring and summer and fall, and those are all listed on my website, and there'll be more and more information coming out about that. For anybody who wants some of this information to magically appear in their inbox, we have the technology. They can just pop over to my site, and there's an area there to put your email address in for practical magic. And so that's available for people if they want to stay in touch and in a really easy way. I don't bombard people, but I like to keep them up to date on what's happening.
Perfect.
I want to say one other thing, Kathy, just before we go on. You opened the segment with the word flow. And I'm so glad you said it in the way that you did, because when we can have money flow, we actually get more energy flow, because money is energy, everything is energy. And number one, it's related to the body, so we get more flow in our body, and never do we want stagnancy in our body, just like we don't want stagnancy in our money. And I have had the odd person say, no, Betty, I just want money to flow in, but I don't want it to flow out. And it's sort of like, well, you might think that's what you want, but actually having that really speaks to lack consciousness and the fear of, well, if I'm letting it flow out too, then, I might not be able to hold on. I might not be able to have money. I might not be able to keep money. So I love how you opened up this thing with that, because there's a whole bunch of stuff around money flow that can sometimes be hidden in people's nervous system as blocks.
And I suspect you deal with that in some of the workshops too.
That's one of the biggest things. Yeah. That's one of the biggest things that I'm found a way to get the flow going.
Fantastic. It's funny when you said about people that they don't know what they want when you ask them. I find, and maybe you do too, that when you talk to people, they don't always know what they want and they can't articulate it, but they sure know what they don't want.
Yeah.
And right? They can say, I definitely don't want a White House with siding, or I don't want this, or I don't want that, but they can't tell you that they want, a brown brick house in the city. But they're usually really, really clear on, I don't want that, and I don't want to live there, I don't want to drive that, I don't want to wear that, I don't want to eat that. But
yeah,
isn't that funny that it's so much easier to say this is what I don't want than it is to say what I do want. And I think that's part of sometimes people's challenges, is when they're just getting clear on what they even want, and they need to know that certainly before they start down a path to try and get something when they're not even sure of whether or not that's what they want, right? So
it's so true. And I do appreciate that. Like, if somebody actually does know what they don't want, then that can start to get us to hone down onto what they do want, right? Like, it can be part of the process. But I so agree with you that sometimes I'll ask a person what they want. I have a certain way of asking it. I would just usually ask it right like that. And they'll tell me all the things they don't want, and then I'll ask the question again, and they'll tell me all the things they don't want, and then it's like, okay, I get what you don't want. Now, what do you want?
Yeah.
And then it's blank, right, deer in the headlights.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But we can find that. We can find that.
Yeah,
that's part of the process.
And I think deep down that people, they do know, but they're afraid to either share that, or they're afraid to even share it with themselves sometimes before they can share it with you, or before they can share it with me. I know in my business, a lot of the fear is, well, I'm going to not have enough money. You're going to think I should have done better, or I didn't do as well as I should have or could have. And I think when I talk to people, I'm just like, listen, I don't judge. There's no right number. You don't have to be at this age and have this amount of money, or have this size car or this size house. It's not a magic formula that one size fits all. And you probably see that with your practice as well, that people, a lot of their fears are coming from competition of keeping up with their neighbors and their cousins and relatives, or whoever it might be. Do you find that as well?
It's a really great point you bring up. And I mean, sadly, around money, there's just so much shame, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm not doing as good as I should be. I'm not doing as well as I should. Oh, you're going to judge. Like, oh, I feel so uncomfortable in my own skin around money that I'm afraid you're going to judge me, or that kind of thing. And I remember reading, or I think I was watching Tony Robbins, and he was talking about his money book, and Deborah Price and some of the other people that I've read in terms of their money instruction, and they all say that actually the system is set up to be really, really confusing for people.
Yeah.
And so everybody that hasn't kind of studied and educated themselves and so on feels kind of shameful and stupid about money. And I think it's really rampant. I'd be curious to hear what you have seen around that, because I think you deal more specifically with like the numbers in the bank and I should be doing better than I am doing, that kind of stuff. I mean, I work with the internal world, but is that what you've seen as well, or what's your experience with?
I find that's exactly what it is. They make finance sound very complicated, and frankly, if you watch any of the BNN, CNBC type business shows, you get a lot of graphs, and they're pretty colors, but you've got a lot of metrics and formulas, and people talk in a language that most people don't understand, because they're using terms about finance that most people wouldn't use on a day-to-day basis. So they feel like they have to understand that. And you really don't, because it doesn't all affect you. It's not something that affects everything that you're doing. You might not even be the right candidate for certain types of investments or money issues that other people are having, and people just get caught up in it, and they think that it's so confusing and so complicated that they can't do it. And the reality is, every single person I've met can handle their own money. Like, they can understand it. They certainly are in a position to know what they have. They're in a position to know where they want to be, and they certainly can say, well, I understand what I have my money in. I don't necessarily need to understand about something more complicated about publicly traded companies or how trusts are made if you don't need them. And that's where I think they get overwhelmed. They try and take it all in when they really only need to take the pieces in that apply to them. And that's what I try and do that. And I know when you deal with people, you deal with them specifically with their one issue. You're not trying to tackle all the issues of the world that don't relate to them. You just take them take on their issue right when they have it at the time and place that they're having it, right?
Yeah, I just know that that's why people love working with you, because you just simplify it. You just make it easy for them, and you don't make them feel stupid.
And, I find that's probably one of my frustrations with the financial world, probably yours too, that it's not that need to feel important or need to feel insignificant on the advisor's part. That gets in the way of doing something good for people and really truly helping them. So when you're not thinking about, I'm going to feel so good because I can use big words and make you sound like you don't understand and you'll be impressed by me. And if you can get past that and get out of your own way as an advisor and say, it doesn't really matter if you think I can use big words or if I can't even understand them. If I can understand your stuff and help you with, that's really all that matters. So, and I think that trust is a very important thing, and you probably see it a lot with your work, that once they trust you, they're willing to make that commitment and make a shift with wherever they need to shift to. Do you find that too?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, the more ease that you or I can be with them, the more ease they can be with themselves. So certainly that's very important, and I like how you just simplify everything.
Oh, good.
It doesn't have to be big words. It doesn't have to be a language that nobody can understand. It's just really clear, really simple. It's like, money could be that easy? Oh,
Absolutely. And I can't believe it's time for us to take another break. But
okay.
We're gonna pop out for a quick break, and when we return, we have Betty Mae Glen with us, and her website is Ask Betty Mae, and I want to make sure it's Ask Betty, and MAE is May. So I know you out there are thinking May, MAY, but it's actually MAE, and I don't want you to miss out getting on her site and signing up for her emails, because you'll really appreciate them. So you are listening to the Financially Speaking with Kathy Cook Noble on the Inspired Choices Network, and when we return, we're going to continue to talk to Betty Mae Glen about money mindset, and I'm going to ask her about fascination and getting out of the money spin. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy at bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Kathy Cook Noble on Inspired Choices Network, and today we're talking to Betty Mae Glen, and we're talking about making friends with money and how we can readjust our mindset and how we can really help the money flow to us and from us in a good, positive, energetic way. So, Betty Mae, I want to ask you, because I love the fascination when you talk about fascination and to get out of the money spin. And you have you have a blog on this, and I was hoping you'd share a little bit more with us about it and how you come up with you're so good at you do 1 minute blog, and I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense. So I'm really hoping everybody will be able to get on there and see these, because they're really cool. So how is the money spin? How does that work?
Well, I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but it's for those people who are in that situation of like, I don't have enough money. I never have enough money. I've never had enough. I don't know anyone who has enough money. And it goes on and on and on and on. It like takes you over. You're in this spin state that you can't even see clearly, right? It's just like overtaking you. And what happens is that is running almost all the time somewhere in there. It's usually in our subconscious. And what the neurobiologists are telling us right now is that 95 to 99% of our lives are being run on automatic pilot. So, number one, awareness is your transformational friend. We have to become more and more aware of the messages that we're giving ourselves. I'm sure your listeners have already heard about this concept before. But what happens sometimes is when people catch themselves saying, I don't have enough money, I never have enough money, they then, with the catch themselves, which is awesome, it's like great to catch yourself, but they go into then judgment. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, now I'm judging myself. I'm judging myself. And it goes down a really, it solidifies it into your structure, actually, instead of having it change. And so if you can even just imagine right now, having that experience of, oh, I just don't have enough money. I hate not having enough money. It really makes me sad, and it's stressful not having enough money. Just feel how your body feels. Even when I say those words, it's like there's this clenching and tightening, and everything's getting wrinkly and squeezing. And if you can actually catch yourself when you say, again, I don't have enough money. Oh, I just heard myself saying that thing that Betty Mae was talking about. I just caught myself. And maybe the tendency is to go into judgment, but you can say, hey, I caught myself. How awesome. This is great. And when you become fascinated by it, just again, imagine your own body, as I'm telling this, going into fascination, right? You go from this clenched, tight, restricted space to like, oh, wow, cool, I caught myself. This is fabulous. I'm so glad I caught myself. And just in doing that, it actually shifts it. It actually starts to build a new neural pathway in your brain so that you don't keep digging those deep, deep, deep grooves that we've been digging through our habits of I don't have enough, I never have enough, I don't know anybody who has enough, and all that. That actually will create a groove in your brain, and that's not the groove we want to make. We want to be able to create new neural pathways of like, oh, fascination. Wow, I caught myself. The moment you're in fascination, you come out of judgment because the two cannot cohabitate. They can't live together. So we're always wanting to invite fascination, invite wonder, invite curiosity. Wow, how cool, I caught myself. Wow, no, what am I supposed to do with that? No, I just have to I already feel better. I already feel better. And that's why people always say, Betty, your transformations are so fast, because it can really literally be that fast, because you feel like crap with all that tension, tightening, and restricting, to all of a sudden, in seconds, it's like, oh, I got it. I feel better. I feel happy. This is great. This is awesome. And you keep building that neural pathway, you have a whole different life.
And does that fit into the wonder therapy that I know you talk about? And maybe you can share a little bit with that, because it sounds like it wouldn't be hard to put those two together. That'd be an easy takeaway for everybody today, even just to be able to do those two things.
Yeah. That's totally what wonder therapy is. Anytime you can go into wonder, you're coming out of what I call conclusion. So you're coming out of a statement that you believe to be true, even if it's not true. Like, how many times do we tell ourselves stuff that really is just an opinion, or really is just a regurgitated something that somebody told us when we were younger, and it's not true. It's just simply like life is hard. Well, that's an opinion. Mm-hmm. We make it true by believing it and believing it and believing it and believing it and believing it, but it's actually an opinion. Because if it was true, it would be true for everybody, and it's just not true for everybody. So anytime you can go into wonder, and by coming into wonder, one of the best ways is just to ask a question. Now, it has to be a true question. It can't be, well, you agree with me, don't you, Kathy?
Yeah, that's right.
That's a conclusion with a question mark at the end. So kind of one of the problems with that is it only gives you two options. Either you align and agree with me, or you resist and react to me. But you don't get to make your own impression. So we don't want to just do a question mark at the end of a statement. We want to ask a true question like, what else is possible here? How else could I imagine this? What are the infinite possibilities? How does it get any better than this? Right? So we're always going into wonder. I wonder. I wonder what could shift. I wonder how else I could think about this. And that one is so great because even if you are in that space of like, oh, I don't have enough money. I wonder what it would be like to have enough money. I wonder what that would be like. Oh, all of a sudden you've just shifted from, oh, I don't have enough money to, well, I wonder what it would be like to have enough money. You've just shifted. You've just shifted your energy and you've just moved into feeling better. So that's really a big piece of the wonder therapy is just whenever possible to move into curiosity, wonder. When you're in curiosity and wonder, it's very hard for judgment to survive in that environment. So sadly, we're dominated by being in judgment. If we're not judging somebody else, we're often judging ourselves. And so to be able to move up judgment into wonder and curiosity, that's really where life can be fun and joyful and interesting and fascinating and curious. And who doesn't want a life like that?
Yeah. Oh, it sounds ideal. And the cool thing is it sounds super easy to achieve. And I don't say easy in the sense, oh, yeah, but anybody can do it, can't they? Anybody can snap themselves. And I think it's great. And what happens when when you start to get the information from you, for example, when you sign up to the email and people start to get it, then you join this community of more like-minded people, and it don't you find that it lifts you up faster? So you have similar-minded people that you're dealing with, or you're reading your blog, or you're getting your email, and then you're catching yourself faster, and it's just always at the forefront of your mind, so you're able to make that shift even faster, even when they're not right in front of you and you don't have access to them one-on-one all the time. Don't you find that helps to lift them up?
It's so true. It's absolutely so true. I've seen it time and time again. And we start to have these little communities and start to help each other. Like if somebody says, oh, I'm really struggling with money, then somebody else in the group might just kind of help to move them into curiosity and wonder without negating what they just said. Like what I really want to avoid is for people to go into the pretending of positivity. And so one of the really simple tools that like anybody can use is to say the words even though, and then what would maybe be considered like a negative statement, like I struggle with money. So it would be like, even though I struggle with money, I wonder what else could be possible. Right? So you go even though, and then the sort of like but we want to acknowledge the truth of how you feel, because we just pretend you don't feel like a struggle with money. Or if someone just says, well, what are you talking about? Money is no struggle. That's really helpful. We really want to acknowledge how that person feels and then start to just turn that into another direction. So it's like, imagine turning a yacht or something, right? Like we just turn it. We don't just kind of say, well, no, it's not. Money's not a struggle, right? We really want to just honor where the person is and help them to move. Honor where they are and help them to move. So those two little words, even though, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, a different way of saying it. So even though I really struggle with money, I really appreciate how much I'm trying with this, or I really appreciate how much I'm changing with this, or I really appreciate that I'm looking for help with this, or, like you can just kind of finish that off with turning the corner on it. Very, very nice.
And it's so beautiful to, I know for you, our work is different, but you probably feel the same way, that when you see these things start to happen with people, it's such a beautiful thing for them to sort of step out of all that darkness or the shadows and the negativity of all the money thoughts that they're having. And when they start to see things, I know for me, when I'm dealing with the hardcore tangible dollar bill, when they start to see the changes there, right, then it's just, they're so much more excited and so much more believing that they can do it. But for me, I have something tangible I can show them. Yours isn't so much as tangible as mine is. So your shift, you see it more in their whole physiology, probably, do you?
Well, yeah, and it's funny that you say it's not tangible, because I totally agree with you in terms of like it's not money. But it's hard to imagine anything more tangible than feeling good.
Yeah.
When you feel good, you feel good. You feel great. Oh, I feel so uplifted. Oh, I feel totally different than I did when we started this conversation. Like, I just feel fantastic. I just feel great. I feel so happy right now. I feel so good. I know
Yeah.
that, like, not really a measuring stick, and yet it's maybe one of the most valuable things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can't believe we're up to another break already.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh. This is what happens. You get talking to Betty Mae and time has no relevance at all. I understand that. I understand. We are going to go to our final break for the show tonight, and you are listening to Financially Speaking with Kathy Cook Noble on the Inspired Choices Network. When we return, we are going to continue to talk to Betty Mae Glen about making friends with money and our mindset. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. Canada 613-800-8736. Or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Kathy Cook Noble on Inspired Choices Network, and today we are talking with Betty Mae Glen and making friends with money and your mindset with money. So before we went to the break, we were just talking about different ways that we can start to shift the way we think, including Wonder Therapy, which is on Betty Mae's blog on her website, askbettymae.com. And I'd encourage you all to go there and sign up for the free newsletter and reminders that you get. We don't have a lot of time left, Betty Mae, but I want to ask you, what's the one thing that you want to make sure people take away from tonight, from the short time that they've had with you? What's the one thing, if we could give them one tidbit or one moment of change, what would that be?
I really think it would be that thing I said earlier about awareness is your transformational friend. And so as you start to become more aware and more aware and more aware, please stay out of judgment of yourself, because you're going to see things about you that you might be tempted to judge, because we've learned that really well. We've been judged all our lives. And so the minute you see something about yourself, I just want to encourage people to be so excited that they're seeing it, because when you can see it, you can change it. If you can't see it, it's harder to change. And so I think, if anything, just build awareness muscles, like just really catch yourself having that thought again, or catch yourself, saying something to somebody that you're like, really? I want to challenge myself on that. I want to start to disrupt my own beliefs. I wonder how my world would change if I started to really disrupt these things I've thought were truths, but are they just my opinion, and am I making them come true in my life? Or are they actually true? Like, these kinds of wonderings and thoughts are going to probably help to really start getting people out of their habits, out of their subconscious habits that are running their lives right now.
Very good.
Most of what I teach is can be related to money, and lots of other areas of your life as well. So every area of your life can be a fertile ground for getting to know yourself more deeply, and taking down the amount that the subconscious is running your life. And when I say that, it's not so much about, I had a coffee instead of a tea this morning, or a tea instead of a coffee. That's one kind of habit. But the deep emotional habits are, when you start to see them, I think for a lot of people, they'll be really surprised at how often they're in the same mood if they look, sort of deeply enough. So just to become aware, become more and more aware.
Is that something that we can, as as a compassionate human race? Is that not something we can help each other with? So if two of us come to your workshop together and we leave and we catch somebody saying something like, oh, I can't do this and I always never have enough money and everybody has enough money, can we help each other and say, hey, you know, what would happen if you had all the money that you needed? Or what would happen if you didn't have that debt you're talking about? Or what would happen? And are we able to help shift them that way as a community?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I really love about the workshops is everybody kind of starts to get in the vibe of that. And one of the questions that's really amazing to start with is that something you'd like to change? Because you and I might assume that somebody wants to get out of struggle, but maybe they just really love complaining. Maybe that's their MO. And so we always really want to ask, is that something you'd like to change? And if it is, then great. Then there's lots of places we can go. You don't have to start there. I love what you said, you know, just like, well, what if it wasn't? Well, what else is possible here? Well, what would your life be like if money was ease for you, right? Like, those are great. Those are just awesome questions. So, yes, please feel free to use those to your heart's content.
I can see me using those a lot more at home. I can see me using those at work. I'll be a Betty Mae Glen. But I want to make sure we remind everybody to go and sign up for the website or for your blog, to go to your website to sign up for it, to go to your website, get information on the webinars, get information on your workshops, especially if you have the time this weekend. I'd encourage you to go this weekend because I know you have a couple spots left. They'll fill up quickly though, so I encourage people to get on that as quick as they can. It's certainly going to be something that they will appreciate, and I expect lots of thank yous for it because I'm sure that's what's coming. I don't mind it if people want to write in and thank me for introducing you to them. That's okay too. But
hey, Kathy, one thing I want to jump in and interrupt you for a second, because I just had this thought, like, for anybody who wants to come this weekend, and you've already missed the early bird deadline, but just for your listeners, I'm going to extend it until tomorrow. So that's Tuesday the 20th at 5 p.m. So if anybody wants to jump in on those last couple spots and get the early bird discount, just for your listeners, I'd be happy to honor that and extend it till tomorrow at 5. That's for the workshop this weekend, the 24th and 25th.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. That's great. That is a great opportunity for anybody out there. So I would seize that as quick as you can. Thank you, Betty Mae. That's wonderful. So we are down to the last 2 minutes of the show, and I want to take just a couple seconds and thank you for coming on and sharing with everyone your opportunities that you have, and just sharing your experience and your knowledge and all the insight that you have. And I really encourage people to talk to Betty Mae either by email or live or at her workshops, because if you are struggling with something, whether it's your money mindset, and I know our show here, Financially Speaking, is mostly about money, but there's so many pieces of people's lives that they need some encouragement and some support with. Talk to Betty Mae and get that support. So thank you so much for coming on, Betty Mae. I appreciate it. I love talking to you as usual. It's never long enough, and hopefully we can get you back on again.
I love that. This was so fun. Thank you so much for having me, Kathy. Really appreciate it. And I love what you're doing. Like, you're just looking at money from so many different points of view. It's awesome. Love it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. And I will see you this weekend, but I'll talk to you later about that because I'm gonna
okay,
get
great.
myself plugged in. So next week,
awesome.
I want to share with everybody. We're going to share with you next week something that's near and dear to all of our hearts. We see these GoFundMe sites everywhere, and it's going to be a conversation that we have next week. Go fund me or go fund yourself, because you can do it. So join me next week.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Financially Speaking Radio Show. Kathy Cook Noble will return next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices